Oh, hey, it's you. Greetings. Welcome back to the Black Pill. Let's talk about every inconceivable threat. Political strategies. There's there's stuff going on in the U.S. right now. All right, in geopolitics, the strategy is informally called being the craziest motherfucker on the cell block. New inmate comes in and their meat, not to be fresh meat. It is incumbent on new inmates, perhaps, to at least in movies, and this isn't about prison, it's about what geopolitics guys think of prison. Uh, to not be fresh meat, you have to come in and show how bad an idea it is to mess with you. Okay, so fresh meat would provoke the biggest guy in the commissary, act crazy, do unpredictable stuff, be wacky, win or lose. That first fight marks them out as trouble. Too much trouble to victimize, as the victimizers prefer soft targets. When a new president swears in, it's traditional for China, for example, to provoke them in some way. When it was Barack Obama, they captured this patrol boat, held the crew hostage for a few days, just to let that new guy know China's not going to roll over just because some new president is sworn in. They are not easy meat. This is my script. I am well past the point of extemporizing competently. So through that lens, Kim Jong Un, Bashir al-Assad, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and so on. I mean, they're understandable. They're small men leading small, almost insignificant countries beset by enemies, political and foreign on all sides. So that's what you do. You act cray, you threaten a lot more than you can deliver, and then you get left to your own evil devices, right? Where you can create for yourself a lot more power than necessarily you would have otherwise. Putin is a bit more than that. Not much more than that, but a bit. He sits atop this ancient, glorious history of a people who used to be powerful. And maybe in the upper echelons, the billionaire class might still believe that they are. A Cold War country with a strategic stockpile of nukes to rival the U.S. at the top of the Cold War. No longer a superpower, but also the U.S. is no longer the sole superpower, right? The rise of China. 15 years ago, we were calling China a sleeping giant, and I don't think we're calling him sleeping anymore. India's out there. The only reason we don't talk about India that much is that India and Pakistan have all their weapons pointed at each other, and if they decided to point somewhere else in the world, right, that would be a thing. Putin has enough power to enact some of his threats. He doesn't just lob missile tests into the ocean near Japan like North Korea. He actually invades his neighbors. He invaded Crimea 2014. The strategy here is the Putin strategy is threaten everyone always. The threats are mostly bullshit, but when you threaten every front and usually don't follow through, you can create some openings. When he started massing troops on Ukraine's border late 2021, it looked to other governments as bargaining, saber rattling. They didn't want Ukraine in NATO. Russia didn't want Ukraine in NATO after Ukraine threw out their Soviet-era style dictator, the sop for Moscow, right? They became a real democracy. NATO refused to be rattled. They did essentially nothing, right? Invading Ukraine would be a stupid, suicidal move. It would be a new Afghanistan, a new Vietnam, right? An unwinnable war with no upside. So Putin threatened a lot of nations with a lot of crap. Nobody moved or blinked. So the way into Ukraine was open, except for the Ukraine army. Ukraine, of course, never bought the idea of saber rattling. They were ready because Crimea, 2014. And the invasion was the human tragedy we now mostly ignore in the news because the news is crap and we have our own self-inflicted problems. Ukraine is probably mostly about oil You can dress it up as nationalism and rebuilding the Soviet Empire, whatever. It's probably mostly about oil. Putin's oil pipelines run through Crimea. More land is more security for existing pipelines and maybe new pipelines. And pipelines, I mean, Russia runs on the petrodollar. Their currency, such as it is based on oil. It's guaranteed by oil. Also, Putin's probably insane, misinformed, both at once. He's not a guy well known for listening to good advice or to facts. Which is all to say, our guy. Why change the name of the Gulf of Mexico? Threaten to make Canada a state? Threaten to invade Mexico with drug cops acting as soldiers by Greenland and probably never pay for it because Trump doesn't pay for anything ever. The million domestic policy attacks of the first 4 weeks. These are stupid threats, unconstitutional on their faces, absolutely inconceivable. Well, I mean, at one level, this is the craziest mudsucker on the cell block. That strategy isn't playing all that well abroad. Retaliatory tariffs and such, NATO really firming up behind Ukraine without us. At home, there's been a lot more sort of preemptive surrender. I'm out here in academics watching DEI. DEI has been drying up and blowing away for a while. But we're not really defending that the way we should, allowing right-wing religious indoctrination centers on campus. I think that's Ohio. Outside of academics, Congress just letting Musk have whatever he wants, relinquishing the power of the purse, right? Congress appropriates the money. Congress writes the laws, appropriates the money. It's the duty of the president to stay out of the way of that. But Congress is doing what Congresses always do in the face of a dictator, is going along, right? They can get paid to do nothing now. There we are. Most of the bluster is theatrics, so we're so busy arguing about which rights to defend, we cannot effectively focus on the most central problems. But my favorite move in chess is if you can move a piece so it threatens a knight and a rook at the same time, and there's nothing that the opponent can do except choose which one of those things they're going to let you have, right? That's where we are. Wherever we mounted a fence, he'll pull away and attack whatever was left open until we have nothing left. But the government is falling to Musk anyway, while we quibble about it and give up this and that around the edges. But maybe you've heard of Schrodinger's douchebag, right? Say the thing, wait for the reaction to decide if you were joking. Right? If they take it well, I was serious. If they are really loud and vociferous, then it was just a joke. It was sarcastic. Get a sense of humor, like that. Any of those stupid threats could be true dangers. If Mexico does nothing to stop it, there could be DEA agents acting illegally inside their borders. We could get into a pointless, unwinnable war with Canada, sending her our blood and treasure while Elon Musk steals what's left of the government. Putin's still around after all, and the math isn't right. That is, what these people are rational actors, but what they want is not what we want to believe that they want. That their actions are rational within the context of what they're trying to achieve for themselves. And we're just unduly optimistic about what that is. These guys are perfectly happy to crash the economy because when stocks are cheap, they can buy more of them while the average man, the poor man, starves to death. Conflict is good for them. While we fight each other, they steal everything. America as a nation doesn't even serve the interests of giant multinational corporations. They'd rather us weak and impoverished, too poor to fight them in international court. I mean, that's the basic strategy of big tobacco, right? Aggressively sell smokes to kids in countries too poor to fight them back. So, Steve Bannon is probably correct about the strategy he helped design. He calls it flooding the zone. A flood of bullshit means we can't fact check everything. We're basically arguing about basic reality. So we can't make informed decisions because information itself is broken. Not for nothing, the dude calls a lot of stuff flooding the zone. In fact, probably flooding the zone with the use of the term in different contexts, meaning different things, to intentionally make it harder to talk about. But that's just the start. That's just the start. What can you do? I mean, stay frosty, don't surrender your basic civil liberties. Without a fight, speak your mind as calmly as you're able. Research and state facts and do it in public. Walk away from shouting matches. Act locally. Support the various organizations spending time and money opposing this coup. Do it with money, do it with time, volunteer. Ask your politicians what they are doing to help us, and make sure you vote in every election. Black Pill out.